Little girl tugged a biker's jacket. Please help my grandma. What he found inside shocked him. The mid-afternoon sun beat down on the cracked asphalt of Route 66, shimmering in waves of heat that distorted the horizon. For Arthur, known to the world simply as Bear, this was just another mile in a long life spent between the handlebars of his motorcycle and the open road. His leather jacket, worn soft by years of wind and rain, bore the patches of a club he had left behind, a silent testament to a past he rarely spoke about. He pulled his heavy bike into the gravel lot of Mabel's Diner, a lonely outpost serving pie and coffee to travelers who had nowhere else to go. As Bear killed the engine, the sudden silence was broken not by the clatter of dishes, but by a small, trembling hand tugging at the fringe of his leather jacket. He looked down to see a little girl, no older than 7, with eyes wide with a fear that seemed far too old for her face. Her name was Lily. "Please," she whispered, her voice cracking under the weight of her desperation. "You have to help my grandma." Bear knelt, bringing himself to her eye level. The contrast between his scarred, tattooed arms and her fragile innocence was stark. "Take a breath, kiddo. What's wrong?" "They won't let her drink water," Lily cried, tears streaming down her dusty cheeks. "Inside, the 2 men, Robert and Richard, they say if she drinks, she can't sign the papers, but she's so thirsty and she looks sick. Please, mister, you look strong." That single detail, the denial of water, sent a jolt of cold recognition through Bear's spine. In his years on the road, he had seen many things, but the calculated cruelty of withholding basic humanity from the vulnerable was a line that could never be crossed. It wasn't just thirst, it was control. "Stay right here," Bear commanded, gently, standing up to his full, imposing height. "I'm going to get your grandma some water." He pushed open the diner door, the bell chiming cheerfully, a sound that clashed violently with the tension inside. In a corner booth, an elderly woman, Alar, sat slumped over a table covered in legal documents. She was pale, her breathing shallow and ragged. Standing over her were 2 men in ill-fitting suits, Robert and Richard. Their smiles didn't reach their eyes. Instead, they held a predatory gleam as they shoved a pen toward Alar's shaking hand. "Just one more signature, Aunt Alar," Robert sneered, blocking the view of a waiter who tried to approach with a pitcher. "Then you can rest." I need water," Alar rasped, her voice barely audible. "No water until the transfer is complete," Richard snapped, slamming his hand on the table. "We don't want you getting confused." Bear moved through the diner like a storm front. The chatter died instantly as patrons sensed the shift in atmospheric pressure. He didn't shout. He didn't need to. He walked straight to the booth, his boots thudding heavily against the linoleum. "She said she needs water," Bear stated, his voice a low rumble that vibrated in the chests of everyone present. Robert looked up, annoyed. "This is a private family matter, biker. Move along." Bear ignored him. He reached past the men, picked up the pitcher the waiter had been holding, and poured a glass. With a steady hand, he lifted it to Alar's lips. "Drink, ma'am. Take your time." Alar drank greedily, the life seeming to return to her eyes with every sip. When she lowered the glass, she looked at Bear with a mixture of gratitude and terror. "They took my pills," Alar whispered, loud enough for Bear to hear. "My heart medicine. They said if I don't sign over my house and my savings, they won't give them back. They're waiting for me to collapse." The air in the diner grew thick with outrage. Bear turned slowly to face the nephews. The fear that had initially gripped Robert and Richard was now replaced by a defensive aggression. "You can't prove anything," Richard stammered, backing away. "She's confused. She's senile." "I called the sheriff before I walked in," Bear lied smoothly, though he had actually signaled the trucker at the next booth to make the call the moment he saw Lily's face. "They're 2 minutes out. And I suggest you stay right where you are, or you'll have to answer to me before you answer to them." The truth of the situation unraveled quickly once the authorities arrived. The police discovered a bottle of life-saving cardiac medication hidden in Robert's briefcase, along with drafts of documents that would have stripped Alar of every asset she owned, leaving her destitute and dependent on the very men trying to kill her. It was a cold, calculated plot to induce a medical crisis, force a signature during the chaos, and inherit the estate. The denial of water had been a tactic to weaken her resolve and cloud her mind. Robert and Richard were arrested on the spot, charged with elder abuse, fraud, and attempted manslaughter. As they were led away in handcuffs, Lily ran into the diner and threw her arms around her grandmother. Alar, weak but safe, wept tears of relief, holding the child who had possessed the courage to seek help from a stranger. In the weeks that followed, the story of the biker and the little girl spread through the small town. Alar recovered fully, her heart stabilized by the medication she finally received. However, the betrayal by her own blood had left a scar that couldn't easily heal. She decided to sell the old house, the site of such trauma, and move to a quiet coastal town where the air was clean and the memories were few. But she didn't go alone. Arthur, the man behind the bear persona, found that the road no longer called to him with the same urgency. When Alar asked him what he planned to do next, he looked at Lily, who was drawing pictures on the diner napkin, and realized he had already found his destination. "We could use a guardian angel," Alar had said softly, "and Lily could use a grandfather who knows how to fix a bike and tell a good story." Arthur smiled, a genuine expression that transformed his rugged face. "My name's Arthur," he told them, "and I'd be honored." Years passed in a blur of laughter and healing. The trio formed a family forged not by blood, but by courage, compassion, and a simple act of kindness on a hot summer day. Alar recovered fully, her heart stabilized by the medication she finally received. Arthur taught Lily how to ride a bicycle and how to stand up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves. Alar filled their new home with the smell of baking bread and the sound of old records. The video of their journey concludes on a bright spring morning at the local high school. Lily, now 18 and radiant in her graduation gown, stands at the podium. She scans the crowd until her eyes lock onto Arthur, sitting in the front row wearing a suit that still looks slightly uncomfortable over his broad shoulders, with Alar beaming beside him. "They say heroes wear capes, but the greatest hero I ever knew wore a leather jacket and stopped for a little girl who was too scared to ask for help. To Arthur and to all the heroes who don't wear capes but show up when it matters most, thank you." As the audience erupts in applause, Arthur wipes a tear from his cheek, realizing that the greatest ride of his life wasn't on two wheels, but the journey to becoming a father and a grandfather. If you believe in the power of kindness and the possibility of second chances, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more emotional stories that remind us of the good in humanity. Your support helps spread hope to millions of viewers around the world. Don't forget to tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We love connecting with our global family. Thanks for watching.